Captain, we have a problem.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
A boy's best friend is his mother.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Silent breed is people!
Yo, Adrian!
Let's put a smile on that face.
I gotta warn you, Clark. They don't play the same games here as they do at them regular casinos.
Royale too.
Welcome to Casino Royale with Cheese, where Shane and I discuss movies that were number one exactly 20 years ago. Today with me, of course, as always, is my extra to my terrestrial, Shane. What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really pumped about this episode.
Yeah. So, you guys listening to this right now, we actually kind of changed up our format a little, not even a little bit, like quite a bit. Because we just got done watching this thing like less than an hour ago.
We even watched like the making of.
Yeah, we did. This was Mike's pick because we're still, once again, riding that stupid Titanic wave where that thing was just killing it at the box office. And so Mike picked the movie this week, E.T.
E.T.
Yeah, the Extra-Terrestrial.
That's right.
Yeah, it was directed by Spielberg.
Look, there's a few things I know about this movie.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Directed and I believe produced by Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. I think he also had a hand in writing the thing, too.
Starring Drew Barrymore. That's it. That's all I know about this movie.
Yep, that's it.
That's all I know. I mean, you know, I'm talking about like as far as credits go and things of that nature.
Right. One thing that I noticed, and I hadn't even really picked up on it, she's kind of become a more prevalent name nowadays because of some of the stuff that she dabbles in. But one of the producers was Kathleen Kennedy. Does that name ring any bells at all?
No.
Okay, well, whenever Disney bought LucasArts and they started making the Star Wars stuff,
right,
she was made like the executive producer over all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's bigger now, probably making way more money now than she.
So she's
was back
over
then.
all the Star Wars stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So interesting enough. Yeah.
And as we go through my notes, there's going to be a lot of Star Wars references.
Oh yeah,
a ton.
Well, and so me and Mike, we've never really done this in this format. We have a birthday party tomorrow. Happy birthday, Madeline. That's my daughter.
That's Shane's daughter, my goddaughter. She's turning a big 3 tomorrow.
3 years old.
Well, she already turned 3, but having the party tomorrow.
Right. So Mike actually is at my house, and neither of us had the opportunity this week to watch E.T. before. Now, usually we'll take like a day or two before we record, and we'll watch the movie and take notes and all that. Tonight we just watched the movie together, and we're like, you know what? You just want to do this thing right now? And so we're doing it while it's still fresh. And
yeah, I try to normally do this while I'm a little bit sober. But, you know, watching E.T., you thought nothing goes better with E.T. than a couple cocktails. So,
that's true.
You know, a little bit of liquid courage, and here we go.
The fascinating thing about that, though, where was I going to go with that?
That we kind of discussed maybe a little bit?
Yeah, we were... And then I kind of blew that out of the water because E.T.'s one of those movies, it's really hard to watch it and not talk about it, you know? And Mike the whole time was like, will you shut up? You know? And so I'm sitting back here and talking, and, you know, for example, one of the things that we had discussed was, one thing that's noteworthy to me anyway, is the music in this movie.
Of course.
Yes.
Shane and his soundtracks.
Oh my god, it's a fantastic score though.
So, like, as we put the disc in the play menu, like, the music is playing. It's part of the score of the film. Mm-hmm. And Shane, you know, he happened to mention, like, man, the music of this movie is just phenomenal. I've actually been listening to it in the car this week with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think it would rival Star Wars. Where he informed me, the same guy,
yeah. John Williams, he wrote, and Mike was like, well, Star Wars, that, because I had mentioned that he does a lot of, like, a vast majority, I would be hard pressed to think of a Spielberg movie that he didn't do the music for. And you're like, well, Spielberg didn't do Star Wars. Well, the thing is that like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg actually went to film school together, and so
They're boys?
yeah, that's why there's all the Star Wars references in this thing.
There's a gang of them.
Oh yeah, constant. It's ongoing, and so keeping that in mind, it was actually, I think Steven Spielberg had originally used John Williams to do the music for Jaws. And
Like the
yeah, it's
that,
iconic. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
John Williams did that.
Mm-hmm. He did.
He's a genius.
He's a beast, dude. Yeah. And then it was after that, I guess, George Lucas was tossing around the idea of maybe doing some sort of synthesized, maybe even a disco-y sort of music score to Star Wars, which would have completely ruined it. That would have aged that movie horribly, and nobody would watch it now.
Like the Bee Gees.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Like
Or
the
like-
auto-tuned Bee Gees.
Yeah, or think of like Logan's Run or something that meow, something really awful sounding. And so it was Spielberg that actually recommended. He was like, "Why don't you use this guy that I know, and he's awesome, And the rest is history.
Okay.
And John Williams has gone down as writing some. I mean, he obviously does like Jurassic Park and stuff like that.
He does?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this guy is like the best soundtrack dude ever.
Yeah, he is, and it's in a lot of ways. I think that him and Spielberg kind of like feed off of each other. Like Spielberg makes great movies, and he does great scores, and like their popularity just kind of like relied on each other.
Well, and it's just enhanced. Like when you know those facts, and then you watch this film,
Right.
again, you realize like this dude, he's really good at what he does.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it really brings, I think, a lot of life to the film.
Mm-hmm. It does. And that being the case, as great as he is, to me, this movie is his Mona Lisa. Like, it is fantastic stuff. In fact, Spielberg actually, I guess John Williams at one point was writing the music and he was showing it to Spielberg. He's like, but it doesn't really go with the scene. And so Spielberg went through and like edited the end of the movie to fit for his music, which never happens.
So
like ever.
the movie maker edited his movie to fit
The music.
the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's unheard of.
Never happens.
And I mean, I'm not even the movie nerd that you are.
Right.
But I know that doesn't happen.
No.
Typically, the music writer watches the film and creates the movie.
Come up with something,
around the film.
Right.
Yeah.
And the director basically says, you take orders from me, bitch. So you write something to go with my shit. But,
All right. So word up, John Williams. Great job.
Yeah. Fantastic work. It was Mike's pick, I think we mentioned.
Yeah, I picked this movie.
Yeah.
It resonates with me in a really different kind of way than the other movies we've talked about so far. A lot of these movies that we've talked about, I actually was present in the theater
Right.
or saw on an early DVD release or VHS release, something like that along those lines. But this movie in particular, I have a very fond memory of. Shout out to my mom. I love you. I can't remember exact age, but I believe I was around the age of 8. So if this movie came out in 1982, I was 3 upon theatrical release.
Right.
So I didn't see that in the theater for sure. But I do have a good feeling my mom and dad might have watched it on a rental.
Right.
So they, if I was 3, my brother was 1, my parents weren't going to the movie theater. So they probably might have watched it on a rental, but when the movie came out on VHS, it was like a re-release on VHS of the original movie.
Right.
And my mom was really excited about taking us to get it. She wanted to buy it, she wanted us to watch it. So I have this feeling, we never talked about it, but I have this feeling that my mom had seen the movie before, and maybe while she was watching it, she was thinking about her sons would really like this movie. So she was taking us to the store to watch the movie, or no, to purchase the movie, I'm sorry. And she was like, I'm really excited, we're gonna go get this movie. And I was like, what movie are we gonna get? And she was like, I'm not gonna tell you, it's gonna be a surprise. And I was like, well, give me a hint. She's like, well, it starts with E. I was like, E. What movie starts with E? And I was thinking, I couldn't think of it. So I was like, what's the last letter it starts with? And she's like, T. I was like, T.
Eat?
What movie ends with the letter T? I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
So then we're there and we purchased the movie and it's E.T. And I remember thinking like, I've heard about this movie, but I don't know really much about this movie.
Yeah.
And this is 6 years after its release.
Right.
Approximately in my memory.
Late 80s, roughly.
Yeah, maybe 90.
Right.
Somewhere in that ballpark. And we went back to the house. We popped it in the VCR. Man, I loved it at that age. And all of a sudden, so many things like came to my memory that from the movie. Mm-hmm. So that's like my early memories of this movie. What are some of yours?
Well, I remember when I was a kid. Of course, my dad, he's a Trekkie, and I was brought up watching Star Trek, brought up watching Star Wars. And so I watched this movie when I was a kid. I actually remember the VHS. It was a black tape. I mean, the little plastic flap on the end of the thing where you can push it up and see the film? Yeah. Instead of black, it was green for whatever reason. That's the only video cassette I remember like that.
I remember not even occasionally, but pretty rarely they would have a different color like flap.
Something weird, yeah. And I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't know if it was like a gimmick thing or maybe they're like, hey, we could save 12 cents per cassette that we send out there if we put this green thing on there instead of black or something. But,
I don't know.
Yeah. My dad showed it to me and I watched it and I was like, okay, so this kid meets an alien and then he helps him find his way. Like, why are the aliens not shooting people? I want to see some ship get blown up,
So as a kid who grew up where aliens were fighting humans, this movie fucked with you.
Yeah, I was like, it's fine, I guess, but why don't you turn on The Empire Strikes Back, And so I watched it, and it was like, it's whatever. I went through, I'd seen it, a handful of times when I was a kid, and my dad loved it, and then I went through, whenever, I want to say it was maybe 2005-ish, I bought the release that we just watched on DVD.
The 20th anniversary 2002
the 2002 thing with all the extra CGI crap that I'm sure we'll talk about that Spielberg decided to add in. And I watched it again. I was like, man, that's a good movie. But then, I've seen it once or twice since then. And then watching it tonight, I had kind of a different effect because it's the first time I've seen it since I had a kid, And so watching it now, retrospectively, it kind of had a different effect on me, I guess.
Well, and I didn't know that this movie was released as a children's film.
No, it's rated G, which surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah,
because they drop a couple shit bombs in there and stuff like that.
Yeah, they have some profanities thrown in there.
A little bit, yeah.
It's not. It's not over the top at all. No. I can maybe count half a dozen times.
It's pretty timid.
Yeah, and it makes total sense now as a dad.
Right.
That this is a family film, but as a kid, I remember thinking it was just a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, I don't know if you have anything else to add to it, but I'd really like to just dive right in.
I think so. Oh, first off, let's do some numbers.
Yep. Showing his numbers.
Oh, I love this part. Okay. So this movie came out the first weekend it was out at the theaters was June the 11th through the 13th of 1982.
So it was a summer release.
It was a summer release.
That's meant to be a big movie.
Yeah, Spielberg kind of brought about the whole summer blockbuster movie thing,
Really?
Yeah, with Jaws, and then George Lucas fed off of it with Star Wars, and now it's bled over, so now it's March to November or whatever.
Yeah, well, now the Star Wars big releases are the Christmas holidays.
December's, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you dare to guess how many weeks this thing was number one at the box office?
Okay, all right. I'm gonna ask for a hint, and I'm gonna ask how much did they spend on making the movie? Do you know?
Yes, it was $10.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
They made this movie on $10.5 million.
It doesn't look like it, does it?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they must have made $400 million.
Well, first off, before I get to the price, how many weeks do you think it was number one?
Well, that's how I determine my week.
Oh, okay. I got you.
400 million.
Are you counting domestic or international or?
I'm just domestic.
Domestic. You're pretty close on that one. Domestically, it brought in $435 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah.
All right.
If this is Price is Right, you would have just won.
So I'm thinking this thing went 7 weeks, number one.
Way off, man.
No way.
17 weeks.
17 weeks?
17 weeks, homie.
So it ran longer than Titanic.
Longer than Titanic. That surprised the hell out of me, too. It was number one all the way up until July the 23rd. And then it was dethroned by, you're gonna love this.
Don't tell me.
The movie that took it out of the number one spot.
I don't even want to know, do I?
You kind of do.
Alright, go.
It was The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
What the fuck?
With Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton.
For all those listening, all four of you, we're not picking that movie anytime soon.
No, I don't think that's going to happen at all. But
Probably not. I've never seen it.
Right. And then it jumped back up to number one for 2 weeks. And then it got bumped out again. And then it jumped in for 3 weeks. And then it got bumped out again. And then it went back in for 2 weeks. Like, it just goes on and on. All the way up until the last weekend that it was number one was December the 3rd. So it kind of like teeter-tottered for 6 months.
Okay, so the difference between this, 17 weeks, you can't be mad at that if you made the movie.
Right.
But
it's not consecutive.
The difference between this and like a Titanic, Titanic went 15 consecutive weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
okay.
insane though, yeah.
Yeah.
This is, let's see here. It's starring, of course, Dee Wallace. She plays the mom. I guess her name's Mary, but I don't recall him ever saying her name.
I don't remember. In all my notes, it says mom.
Yeah, same here. Henry Thomas plays Elliot. Peter Coyote plays Keys, which I was thinking in my head, like, I'm just going to call that guy Keys. And then I looked in the credits, and they actually call him Keys, but he's the guy that has the keys hanging from his belt. Robert McNaughton plays the older brother, Michael, who had some gnarly hair in 2002.
If you have the DVD, the 20th anniversary release,
it might even be on YouTube.
Watch the extras, because this dude has got like twist braids, kind of. We described him best as
kind of like dreads or something.
We described him best as the wannabe, kind of hardcore but faking it drug dealer from a really bad movie.
Or maybe like he got a bit part on like a show where they're reenacting like some sort of drug deal that went down, and they got him to play it or something awful like that.
It's like they try to take like a geeky white dude and make him look hardcore.
Yeah. And he has a jacked up grill, so he kind of did look hardcore, but not in a cool way.
No,
Yeah. Of course, we have Drew Barrymore as Gertie, which I can only assume is short for Gertrude.
I would hope so, because that's a terrible name.
That's an
otherwise,
awful name. Yeah. What else was I gonna say? I think that's it, numbers wise. So $10.5 million budget internationally, it brought in almost $793 million.
So it did well.
Very, very well.
If you do cost versus return,
oh yeah,
killed it.
That's not adjusting for inflation either. Once you adjust for inflation, domestically, that's the number 4 movie of all time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
This was the number 1 movie of all time until Steven Spielberg released Jurassic Park. And then that took the number 1 spot until Titanic came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the only movie we talked about that didn't have a direct impact on my childhood until VHS release.
Right.
And I think it was a VHS re-release that I finally saw. Like we finally got to a movie that's old enough that my old ass doesn't remember it coming out.
Right. Apparently, in July of 1982, during the film's first theatrical run, Steven Spielberg and Melissa Matheson wrote a treatment for a sequel to be titled E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears. According to Wikipedia, it would have shown Elliot and his friends getting kidnapped by evil aliens and follow their attempts to contact E.T. for help. But Steven Spielberg thought that a sequel was a horrible idea and backed out pretty much immediately.
Well, and we saw the making of, and Steven Spielberg said that his number 1 question amongst young viewers was, when are you going to make a sequel? And he said, no, I'm not going to.
It's not going to happen,
yeah. And when we get to the end of this, you'll see that it's a good idea that he doesn't make a sequel.
Yeah, to do a sequel would pretty much just tarnish the notion of this movie.
You can't rematch. You can't repeat the magic they found in this. Yeah.
If you did a sequel, it would only be a cash grab. It's not to try to live up to the original in any way. So
correct.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to get started with this thing?
Let's do it, man.
All right.
So we open up, and I want to mention one of the things that really ages this movie for you is if you open up right at the very beginning of the film, the Universal logo is a Universal logo we don't see anymore.
No.
And
that's the one I grew up with, though.
Me too. and the credits open up on an all-black screen before any action occurs, which doesn't happen today.
No. People are up and doing stuff. And,
yeah, now there's like car chases and grenade throwing and gunfire.
Or they'll have like an opening scene and then run the credits, and show like cityscape or something.
Right.
But,
there's some type of action going on the screen at the same time. This is purely black film.
Right.
I believe it was purple letters.
Blue or purple, something.
Yeah,
I'm colorblind, doesn't matter.
I didn't. Something to that effect, and it's real simple. It says this is who plays this person. This is who plays this person. The kid who plays Elliot gets his own headline, as Elliot.
Yep.
And that's how we find out that Steven Spielberg is an intricate part of this with the director and producer credit.
Right.
It even says John Williams was the music.
Yep.
So they don't do that anymore in movies, so that's pretty cool.
We see that there's this ship that, to be fair, is pretty odd looking.
Kind of egg shaped.
Yeah. I actually wrote down egg ship, so yeah. It's out here, and there's these creatures that have emerged from this ship out in the middle of the forest, and they seem to, from what I can tell, be collecting like plants and stuff like that up out of the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, their ship is full of like
just biological type of
alien like plant life.
Yeah.
Like it's not stuff you would see. I mean, maybe it's out there. I don't know. It might be in the Amazon or something, but like
big ass tall mushroom looking things and like
Yeah.
stalagmites coming out of the floor and
alien looking plant life.
And occasionally it'll cut to like a fern or something like that, but most of this crap's pretty otherworldly looking.
Pretty foreign.
Yeah. They all of a sudden, I thought it was kind of cool because like all the aliens are hustling about doing their thing, and all of a sudden they like hear this owl and they all like stop, and like you can see the little thing on their chest like light up,
Yeah, their chest glows.
Yeah.
Like a glowworm.
I think that's how they communicate, with each other, basically, like non-verbally.
Yeah, I mean, after watching the whole thing, I think you're probably right.
And they all stop, and then it's kind of like one of them's like, oh, it's just a bird, and so they keep going back to what they're doing, which is kind of a neat little thing. What is it? We cut to the actual alien that we're following in this piece, who later is known as E.T., and he's found this little, like a freshly grown, like pine tree that's grown out of the ground. Yeah, just a little bitty tree, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna take this back to the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
It's be perfect in the collection.
They're looking for plants. That's what we got right here. And so he goes to dig this thing up, and all of a sudden you can tell that it shows where there's like this cityscape looking thing where it looks like there's like this lighting that looks like it's in a grid, like they're over some kind of town or like a suburb.
Or maybe even a larger metropolis.
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't think, did they ever say what city they're in? No.
I thought that the whole movie, I was wondering, like, where exactly are they? We know that later in the film we find out they're in the state of California, but we don't know where.
No.
And by the looks of the trees, I'm guessing somewhere in the Northern California area.
That would be my guess. I saw some of the bigger, taller trees and was thinking like redwood type of deal because those are some big ass trees, homie.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
We don't have forests like that there.
Nope. But it's weird too because it seems like there's a lot of dirt and shit like that, in this suburb where the kids all live too.
I know what that is, and I'll explain that when we get there.
Okay, fair enough. Just to allude to, I did see where there was some construction. Does it have anything to do with that?
It does.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so all of a sudden, all these government vehicles come pouring out of nowhere.
What indication do you get that those are government vehicles?
There really isn't any until you find out what these guys are all about.
Because to me, in that scene, it looks like a bunch of rednecks chasing.
There was like a Ford F-150.
Yeah.
And like some dude hopped out with the keys on his thing,
Yeah, you don't know what the significance of those keys are at that point. You just see some dude jangling some keys, and E.T. don't like that shit.
That's the brilliance of Spielberg right there, homie. So that you can recognize this dude later, but yeah.
Yeah, and so so they roll up in these off-road vehicles or trucks with knobby tires.
You think government vehicle, you think like black vans or something.
Oh,
and that wasn't.
They have government plates.
Yeah.
These we don't see plates.
No, these are just pickup trucks, man.
Yeah, so the alien runs off screaming like a wounded rabbit or something.
Yeah. I remember as a kid thinking that was a really odd sounding sort of vocalization on his part, you know?
Yeah, it's not like a child scream.
Yeah.
It's like a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because at that point, he knows that he's got to get out of there. And so he has no qualms about making noise at that point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what struck me was like the humans in this scene, they get out of the truck and they're chasing down this alien, and this fucking thing flies.
Yeah.
And it's got tiny legs.
It's moving, dude. Yeah.
The legs are like about 8 inches long.
Right.
And it's flying.
That's the fastest you see this alien move this entire movie. The rest of the time, it moves like a dadgum sloth out of Zootopia, you know?
Yeah, it was mind-blowing how fast this thing was moving.
But let's see. Oh, so the other aliens, they start to pick up on what's going on. And so their little chest lights up. And I got the impression that they were basically telling him, like, dude, we're about to pack up.
Yeah,
You know?
get on the fucking ship.
Right, yeah. I don't know where you are, but it's time to wrap it up. And so, anyway, E.T. takes off, and but right as he does, he happens to see the ship leave. He goes over this passageway, and the ship takes off.
Why do they leave him, do you think?
I think that the guys were just getting too close to the ship, and they did not want to be discovered, and so they just dipped out.
It can't be the risk. It's the risk of, like, them getting on the ship, or the risk of them capturing more aliens, or...
You know, that's the question, because if I was this advanced species, which these guys obviously are, because they're capable of interstellar travel and stuff like that, obviously they're going to have weapons that are going to be far better than whatever these guys are carrying. So I wouldn't be that intimidated.
Well, I mean, at the same point, though, they're collecting plants. So it's not like...
They're not like Klingons.
Right, they don't seem to be violent.
Right.
And their chest glows, like their heart.
Yeah, you can actually see it beating. It looks like a heart.
Yeah, their heart is like their communication device.
Right.
So I think we get this sense of, like, these are...
They're like pacifists.
Yeah, they're not violent at all.
Right. Anyway, so E.T. he looks over this ridge and sees the suburbs down below, and they cut away from him. We see where the government guys basically go to that exact same spot, and they're looking around and they don't see him. So it's fair to assume that he's managed to evade them, at least for the time being.
Yeah, maybe he got on a ship. You know, like, is a government employee at that point, maybe it's like, oh, they all got away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we cut to the house in the suburbs, a bunch of young teen boys, and a little bit younger one. It looks like one of the teen boys is smoking a cigarette, by the way.
Okay, there's a little smoke in the air.
No, there's a cigarette and an ashtray in front of him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I don't know who's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, because Mom wasn't there at the time.
No, and we don't see any cigarettes throughout the rest of the film.
No.
So I don't know if that T kid was just decided, like, I'm gonna light one up right now.
I'm gonna feel like a badass. It looks as though they're all sitting around and doing some 80s shit, like playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, D&D for sure.
One's ordering a pizza. One's talking about the Papa Umamau song. And because I didn't get that. He's like on the phone talking about Papa Umamau, and I'm like, I thought you were ordering a pizza, but you know, whatever. We're introduced to the other, I guess, players in the film. There's this kid named Greg who gets, outside of the regular cast of Michael's friends, gets the most screen time.
Is he the one who wears a ski mask later?
No, he's the one with the freaking headphones, that go on for days. The one that I noticed, his name was Tyler, and the only reason I noticed him is because he's played by C. Thomas Howell. And he was in like 24 for a little while and stuff like that.
Is that the guy with the ski mask? Later in the film?
No.
Look, there's a kid with the headphones. There's a kid with the fucking paperboy hat.
Yeah. No, I think he was wearing the ski mask. I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he takes it off later and he's like, we got away. We made it. Yeah. And so but then we're introduced to Michael, and he's the blonde-headed one. He's the older brother to the younger, twerpier, more annoying, the kid that's annoying them at least.
The kid who we find out later his name is Elliot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is a co-star of the film.
He's pretty much the lead, yeah. And so they send his little ass out there to go pick up this pizza.
He wants to play.
Yeah.
He wants to play the game, and they say, like, you can play, but you gotta go out there and get the pizza.
Right. Yeah.
because so and so didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it? I guess I didn't get the so and so didn't show up. But it's
They
just a
told him like
throwaway
the only
line.
reason you're getting to play is because of this. Yeah, it was a throwaway line.
I got you.
So he goes out to get the pizza.
Yep.
He comes up back to the house.
Here's something.
So he decides to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like any good 8-year-old would do. He decides to investigate, and he goes to a glowing shed in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
He throws a baseball inside.
I've got some stuff to say about that backyard, but we'll save it. That
Well, I
thing's
mean,
ridiculous.
We're in the backyard.
Yeah,
dude.
we might as well. Were they growing corn back there? In their suburb house in California backyard?
Well, you're jumping a little bit to a couple scenes later, but
Well, you can still see the corn stalks and stuff growing in that scene.
I don't know. There's a whole field behind the house of corn.
Weird, dude.
I don't know what's going on exactly either, but you're right.
I think it's a thing you're not supposed to think about, but I was watching it analytically and going, what the hell's going on here? You know?
I don't know. But he throws his baseball into the shed. He's got his baseball glove and his baseball. He throws it in the shed. The ball quickly returns back to him, but kind of in a rolling pattern.
Yeah, something like chucks it back at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he fucking freaks out, steps on the pizza. The
Yep.
only job he had
Yep.
was get the pizza. He stepped on it and ran inside the house, starts freaking the fuck out.
Right. Yes, he does.
He starts talking about there's something out in the backyard.
Yeah. And Mom finally shows up.
Yeah, she's there, and like one of the boys like lewdly like licks his finger and goes to touch it to her ass.
Does he really?
Yeah, and she's like leaning into the dishwasher.
Oh,
He's
I
getting
got
ready to
you.
like he licks his finger and goes to stick it to her ass and it's like like it's sizzling off her ass. And Mike, her biological son, is like, stop!
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Where was I during this?
Taking notes.
This is great, man. No, Mom is a MILF, by the way. She's keeping it together, dude.
You got going on.
Yeah, she's not bad. For like 80s, you know, because that was a whole frumpy thing as far as fashion goes.
You don't have to convince me, bro. She got it going on.
Yeah, she's looking all right. So anyway, he says that there's something outside, and all the boys are at the table like, all right, well, let's go get this thing.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Mom. We got this.
Yeah. So, like, Michael grabs a knife out of the knife block, you know, and all that
The
shit.
kid grabs his bat.
Yeah. And they look into the shed out back, and they see these weird looking footprints that have like 3 toes. And all of a sudden, Michael's like, "Looks like the coyote's back, Mom."
Mm-hmm.
Does that look like a coyote footprint to you?
Not to me, but I'm an expert.
I mean,
I'm not a wildlife expert, man. I'm not gonna critique this kid. If they've had problems with coyotes in the past, then the chances are it's probably a coyote.
that's a fair assumption.
An alien with 3 toes wouldn't be your first guess.
I wouldn't guess that was a coyote though, either. You know, but
No,
right,
but it doesn't belong there,
right.
and they know they have.
And this
coyotes.
thing's been coming around,
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so
I got you.
fair call.
Right. We cut to Mom notices the pizza and she's like, "Who said you could order a pizza?"
Yeah, she gets pissed off about the pizza.
I'm like, they didn't hit you up for money or anything. Like, they were using their own money to buy the pizza. So what do you care, you know?
You weren't even here to cook dinner.
Yeah. Where have you been? Like, just chilling? It's kind of strange because she's not there at the beginning of the scene when the kid like lights a cigarette and then, like, suddenly she's just there.
Yeah. In a bathrobe.
Right.
Like a
Yeah.
silk robe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which she wears well, but I digress. Yeah. We cut to where Elliot is asleep in his bunk bed, which is a completely unnecessary bunk bed, unless he's gonna bunk with Gertie.
What if you have a friend stay over, Shane?
Well, we did when I was a kid. I mean, I did have a bunk bed. Well, there goes my argument, because I had a bunk bed later on, and I was the only one that slept in it. So, never mind.
Moving on.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. What is it here?
The dog and Elliot both hear something.
Yeah, he hears something outside.
Yeah.
He goes outside to check it out, and that's when we get to the corn scene.
Yeah,
Children
he's like
of the
hunting through the fucking cornfield.
Yeah, he's got
in
this
his backyard.
flashlight. Yeah.
Just a second ago, there was some scary shit out in your shed that you freaked out and alerted the whole family about. But now you're just bravely walking through a cornfield with a flashlight.
At 2 a.m. by yourself.
Your dog's not even with you.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, I think the dog was still in his bed, sleeping on that bottom bunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he goes after E.T. One thing I noticed was, and this I think might just be like a dad thing, but he's walking around in like his white socks out in the middle of this dirt. I was like, don't do that. At least take the socks off or put some shoes on, homie.
Well, if you know anything about my nephews, Ethan and Seth, they walk around with their socks everywhere.
Really?
And they wear like those $25 pair.
No.
Nike.
Those Nikes? Yeah, no.
They walk around with those, they just wreck them.
You walk around with some expensive ass socks outside, it's going to be game on.
Yeah.
It's about to go down.
So boys don't give a shit about their socks. But he goes out there, he has a flashlight with him, it's his only weapon, and he spotlights the alien.
Yeah.
Who, like we said, is known as E.T. He spotlights him, so it's the first time we really get to see what this alien looks like.
Briefly. Yeah.
But it's long enough, like, we can
you can get a good look at him, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got, like, this big old dome.
Yeah.
This skinny-ass neck.
Real frumpy looking body, I thought.
Really
flabby looking.
Yeah, he's way out of shape. He ain't in the gym at all.
No.
His shoulders are pretty broad, you know, and then his body just goes straight down from the shoulders. And that's all we get to see of him.
Right.
And they scream at each other.
Which E.T. does another weird ass scream. It sounds like a weed eater or something. Yeah, this is really bizarre stuff.
He makes a lot of weird noises.
Yeah, he does. So he decides that he's gonna try to figure out what's up with this dude, and he actually lures him. Tries to.
What's the next day?
Is it the next day?
It's the next morning.
Well, he tries to get him into the house with the Reese's Pieces.
That's the next day.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the next morning.
Because he goes tonight. He goes to bed.
Yeah, he goes to bed. No, but that's later.
Is it?
That's the next day.
No, that's when he was playing sick. Was the next morning.
No, you're wrong. So he yells. They get in the scream like ah, and the ET runs off, and that's it.
Oh, is that it?
That's all you.
Because
sees of him. The next morning,
because he sees the swing going.
Right, he goes in and he sees like a gate falling and trash cans falling down.
Yeah,
and all stuff.
You're right.
So he goes back to the house. The next day, he regathers his game plan and he collects up some Reese's Pieces.
Yes.
And he goes out to lure in this alien creature with Reese's Pieces. Here's an interesting fact about the Reese's Pieces. So, Steven Spielberg approached Eminem.
Yes.
Do you know about this?
I think I've heard about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so he approached Eminem about this. But they didn't want to be involved in this alien movie. They thought it was going to be a complete bust.
Right.
So they opted out. So there was this burgeoning company that we all know as Reese's Pieces now.
Right.
All right, part of the Reese's Peanut Butter Company.
Yes.
And he approached them about it, and they had a new product out, so they were like, "Fuck yeah!"
Any advertisement, good advertisement. Yeah.
So Elliot takes those Reese's Pieces and he goes out and lays like a fucking gingerbread crumb trail.
Right.
Out into the woods.
Where did he know to go out into the? He didn't know where the ET went.
I don't know, man. Good writing.
Well, yeah. Something. I guess you read the script.
Good writing. I don't know. So he goes out and he leaves a trail of Reese's Pieces to the house.
Right.
For this creature that he doesn't know about yet.
While he's out there, he actually sees he's dropping these Reese's Pieces on the ground, kind of like breadcrumbs. And he looks over and he sees there's this guy in like jeans and this like sport jacket or whatever, and he's out there seeing the Reese's Pieces and kind of like kicking them around on the ground.
He's just
and stuff
kicking
like
to me.
Is it like rocks or something?
Yeah, he's just kicking shit around.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very scientific to me at all.
Well, I think he's one of the government agents. Investigating.
I'm assuming you're correct, but he's just out there kicking around. He doesn't have no instruments with him or anything.
No, he doesn't. So anyway, oh yeah, it's that night. This is a great scene because basically the scene starts and we finally meet Gertie, Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And
Little Drew, as I affectionately referred to her as.
She was great in this movie, by the way.
Fantastic.
Did a fantastic
job.
Both
the youngest kids, both Elliot and Drew, who play Gertie, killed it.
And it's funny because they say in Hollywood, there's 2 rules. Don't work with kids, don't work with animals.
Right.
You know, and they didn't incorporate animals as much into this, but the kids did a bang-up job.
Killed it.
So, yeah. Anyway, they're asking, they're talking to Elliot about the thing that he saw out there.
They're at dinner.
Yeah, they're just bullshitting around the table. And so then they ask Gertie what she's going to dress up for as Halloween. She says a cowgirl. Yeah. And then they ask Elliot what he's going to dress up for, and he's like, I don't know. And so Michael starts like getting into him and like pecker slapping him a little bit. And he's like, oh, well, maybe you could dress up like your goblin. And he's like, it's not a goblin, stupid. Yeah. And like it just goes on from there. And he keeps asking if it's like, you know, like a mentally challenged kid or something.
Maybe it's a leprechaun.
Yeah.
And everything he says, Drew Barrymore's character repeats back.
Yeah. That's great.
It's really good.
Yeah. And so then he drops the line that always cracked me up as a kid. He's like, it's not like that, penis breath.
And then his mom like chuckles.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Right, yeah. And it's funny because as a kid, I think I tried to use that line once. And like my mom heard me use that line.
Smacked you down pretty quick.
Yeah, man, it wasn't going to happen.
So we find out that the parents are divorced. Mm. That's why we only see mom.
It's a pretty broken house.
Yeah, and it's a recently separated or divorced family. Mm-hmm. They use the term separated in the film.
Right.
And then towards the end of the scene, she says something like, because he says, my dad would understand. And she goes, why don't you call your dad? He goes, he's in Mexico with Sally.
Yeah.
And what, I don't know if they meant this to be funny or not, but it was funny to me. Little Drew says, where's Mexico?
Where's Mexico? Yeah.
She doesn't say who's
just
Sally.
A kid, yeah. Like,
she doesn't say who's Sally. She said, where's Mexico?
Where's Mexico, yeah. And so
mom cries.
Mom gets pretty pissed off pretty quick because you get the impression that like while they were together, that dad was kind of like this stick in the mud, and now he's out doing stuff. Now that he's not like clinging to his family anymore, he's out like seeing the world and stuff like that.
Well, she says the line.
Yeah, he hates Mexico.
Hates Mexico.
Yeah. And when we were watching this, I was like, Mike, who hates Mexico?
Who the fuck hates Mexico?
I mean, I've never been like to Mexico, but I've been south of the border, and it's awesome.
We've been to tourist Mexico.
Right, yeah, the resorts and stuff like that.
Pretty dope.
It's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that thing, you know? Like, and that's the thing, is like, you can only assume that anytime he's been to Mexico, it's been in like a vacation type setting.
Sure.
What's there to hate, you know? Like,
right.
It's awesome. But, so he's chilling outside. Elliot is later that night.
I think he went to sleep out there.
Yeah, he's outside on this lawn chair, hoping to see this thing again. And this scene, actually, I could see if I was a kid watching this movie being pretty creepy, dude.
I mean, it's set up that way.
It is, yeah.
And this is where we ranted earlier about John Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where his score really starts to begin.
It does.
I mean, it's already going on in the film. We're about 25 minutes into the film.
Right.
But this is where he really starts to set a tone with what you're supposed to feel.
Right. And I guess in that regard, he is kind of like feeding you emotions, you know, telling you what to feel. But he does a really good job at it. So, you know. But, yeah, Elliot starts freaking out because this thing, like, emerges from this shack or whatever outside the back of their house.
The cornfield.
Tool shed, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they never turn the light off on this freaking thing, you know. It is always going.
Glows all the time.
It does. So anyway, he like sees this thing and he starts calling out for mom, but enough air won't come out, and it's just like a whisper. And then you see this thing like saunter over to him really unnaturally, you know. And it's a pretty great scene. And so it drops these Reese's Pieces off on his sleeping bag. And he's like, oh, okay, he brought the food back to me. That's cool. And so he decides he's going to lure it into the house with his Reese's Pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
So he lures them all the way back to his bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately he starts fucking stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's breaking shit. And, yeah, bumping into crap. I was kind of thinking, and I think I might have put too much thought into it, but I think that E.T. might be actually from a planet that has a low gravity like environment, because under Earth's gravity, like he just moves super slow, real sluggish and stuff like that, unless he's forced into a situation where he has to move quickly, like the government agents at the beginning.
Well, where does the galaxy that Star Wars takes place?
Far, far away. I have no idea. Well, they don't ever say.
He's from there.
Yeah, he was in episode. Well, his people were in episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know, and I mean. And this was obviously like way after the movie came out, but there's a contingency of ET-like creatures,
right?
at an intergalactic meeting.
Mm-hmm. At the council Senate
meeting.
thing.
Yeah. So he is now tied officially into the Star Wars universe.
Right. They're interconnected. In fact, people go even further and speculate because E.T. could like pick stuff up with his mind and move it around and stuff. People are like, oh, he's a Jedi.
Maybe.
So, I mean, it could be,
Possible.
Anyway, I noticed in here that, so we finally see E.T. He steps into the light and you see him basically full on.
In all his glory.
Yeah.
Flabby as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Looking rough. And one thing I noticed was that Elliot has a huge bedroom, bro.
They all do. But yes, you're right. Elliot's got a huge bedroom with a workshop and a closet you can get lost in.
He got his own little armchair chilling. Yeah.
He's got a bunk bed that looks like a fucking doll-sized bed in the middle of in the corner of the room because the room is so large. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a big-ass room.
He does.
He's got a globe.
He's got toys for days, too, bro.
He's got a globe that looks like a miniature basketball.
Yeah.
Because of how big this room is.
Elliot finally, it's late. He walks backwards once he gets a good look at E.T. and just passes smooth out in his armchair.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I would be wide awake at this point.
I would go through all kinds of stages at that point. I'd be like losing my shit.
Yeah, you have your initial freak out,
I would be so intrigued.
Yeah.
I would have so many questions.
Right.
I would want to touch his head.
Yeah. Figure him out. Check him out.
Yeah. I would want to know if he's violent or not. Mm-hmm. There's so many questions I would have.
Start poking him or something, see if he punches you.
But I just get sleepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to bed.
This is something I didn't pick up on when I was a kid, but I do pick up on it now as an adult.
Right.
E.T. lured him to sleep.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, because remember, if you look, they go through this whole mimicking scene.
Yeah.
Where Elliot
he's
touches
following
his
his finger movements and stuff like
mouth,
that.
Touches his cheek, and E.T. does all the movements, and then E.T. starts like closing his eyes.
Yeah.
And acting like he's tired, and all of a sudden Elliot starts acting like he's tired, and he just steps back into a chair and passes out. And then E.T. takes off his blanket and is like,
Yeah. So here's the thing about that is later on in the movie they say that basically he and Elliot are connected, almost like a psychic sort of thing. That he basically feels what E.T. feels and stuff like that. Do you think that it's at that moment that he made that connection with Elliot?
I do.
Okay. I hadn't even thought about that, but that is interesting.
Looking back at the movie now, to me, that makes the most sense. Because
the only time he really did anything to signify that's what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
He's mimicking him, and then all of a sudden, Elliot is exhausted.
Yeah.
When he'd be amped. He's 10 years old.
Yeah. I got this alien. Yeah.
He'd be freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
I had not even thought of that. That is really fascinating, but yeah.
The investigators are all over the shuttle landing site.
Yeah.
They find the Reese's.
Mm-hmm.
Elliot fakes it the next morning.
Yeah, which is great. He's got the little thermometer and he's holding it up to the lamp. He's lucky that thing didn't register at 120 degrees when Mom came and checked on it, And then, so Mom tells him, she's like, all right, well, I know that you're outside late last night looking for that thing. She's like, you can stay home today. No TV. And I was like, Mom, my parents did that same thing to me. Why you have to be a dick about this thing,
I'm sick, bro.
Yeah, let me watch some TV. What, am I going to lay in bed and look at the ceiling all day? That's a bunch of crap.
And she gets the world's biggest comforter and throws it on top of it.
Yeah, she does. It's funny in that scene. We cut to his older brother Michael trying to back out of the driveway. He
can't drive for shit. He hits the wall, drives through the grass.
Right.
All he's doing is backing down a driveway.
Yeah, he is. And I got news for you. For my children I currently have, and for children I may have someday in the future, if you don't know how to drive any better than that, you ain't driving an Audi that I might have.
Fuck no.
That ain't gonna happen. So he goes through, Elliot does, once his mom bounces, and he starts showing E.T. all of his crap, all of his toys, and all, whatever else, like his action figures, and he realizes that E.T. is hungry.
Well, he has 4 Star Wars references in there.
Yeah, he does. He's got Greedo, Hammerhead, the Walrus Man, Snaggletooth,
Snaggletooth.
Sharktooth, yeah.
But
Whatever.
those are so Guido. I know is Star Trek or Star Wars.
Yeah, he says Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, Star Wars. He said another one.
Some of those guys were just out of like the cantina scene in the original Star Wars.
So they're all Star Wars
I
characters.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know who the walrus guy is. He looks like he has a ball sack hanging out of his mouth, but yeah.
Gross.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's pretty foul, but I guess creative, so whatever. And another thing that kind of backs up your point too is whenever he shows E.T. his car, and he's like, "This is how we get around," and E.T. grabs the car and he starts to chew on it. He goes, "Oh no, we don't eat the car." He's like, "Are you hungry?" He's like, "I'm hungry." And so that once again kind of reinforces that idea that like he's feeling what E.T. feels, like they've synced up, you know.
I think so.
Yeah. So he goes downstairs. He opens the door. The dog comes upstairs, sees E.T. and starts tripping.
Yeah, they don't
which
like
is
each
great.
other immediately.
No, they don't. He goes downstairs, grabs an armful of crap out of the fridge, and E.T. opens up this umbrella, and Elliot drops all this food in the floor, including the milk, and he just lets it keep pouring into the floor.
I think that also reinforces my fact that they're reconnected. If I'm 3 rooms away from you, I'm not going to hear an umbrella.
He's all the way upstairs.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hear an umbrella pop open.
No.
And E.T. freaks out when he spills the milk.
Oh, yeah.
They're connected.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. He brings E.T. his food, and I think what I cut to after that was when Michael got home from school. Yeah,
that's what I
he's
got.
wearing his football pads and stuff. Elliot decides he's going to show Michael E.T., the alien. And so anyway, he's like, take off your pads because they might intimidate him, freak him out a little bit. And Michael thinks that he's full of shit. And
Right.
he's just messing around with him.
He's like, did it come back?
Right.
Ah!
You have to promise your most ultimate promise, whatever.
He does a Yoda impression.
Yeah, he does. Another Star Wars thing, yeah. And so then Michael sees him and instantaneously is like, holy shit, this dude's for real,
Mm-hmm.
And so then the younger sister, Gertie, runs into the room and she freaks out when she sees this thing. And E.T. starts screaming at her and they're screaming at each other. Mom saunters into the house.
Iconic scene, by the way, the two of them screaming at each other.
It is.
She's screaming at the top of her lungs, little girl scream, I can't do. And
Right.
he's just like, ah!
Yeah. I'm gonna say this, and granted, I'm not a single parent, and I never have been, but I think that the mom really needs some help because, man, she is not picking up on any of this. She just heard her daughter like scream at the top of her lungs from upstairs, and she doesn't even say anything about it.
But she does come and check on them. What she doesn't notice when she comes to check on them is that her daughter's not in the room.
Right. Where's this kid at that was just screaming?
Yeah. So Elliot's like fucking with this shark toy
Yeah.
in his mouth, by the way. He's got it up in his mouth. He just had it in the fish tank.
Yeah.
And the oldest son, Mike, has got Gertie in the closet with his hand wrapped around her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, let's be real for a second, folks. If your kid is suddenly missing after you just heard her scream and your oldest is not around, maybe some crazy shit is going on.
It could very well be.
I'm gonna find out what's going on before I bounce out.
And she was suddenly silenced.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
No, I'm gonna figure out what the fuck is going on.
Might be nothing, but it might not.
I'm whipping asses until I get answers.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not a fan of whipping butts, but at that kind of situation, I'm whipping some butts.
Right. We're gonna figure it out.
But yeah, she just is like, okay, this room is a disaster. See you later.
Right. So basically, Gertie starts to chill out, and she starts asking questions. And Elliot's like, "Look, you cannot say anything." And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Cause Michael's gonna tear up your doll if you do." And so she's
They torture her doll.
yeah. And so they all swear an oath of silence. We cut to where we see these agents that have now made their way into the suburbs.
We passed up a quick point real quick.
Yes.
Elliot says, I'm keeping him.
Yeah.
How the fuck are you keeping that? What means do you have to keep
He
that?
can leave whenever he wants, I guess.
You're gonna be responsible for a sentient being.
Right. That you haven't told your mom about.
Right. And we don't plan on telling mom.
Right. She's not gonna notice because this dude eats like a freaking horse too, Where's that dozen eggs I just bought yesterday,
So that was weird to me. He was like, I'm keeping him. And the other brother was like, okay.
Well, he's like 11, so he's not really thinking this stuff out,
Fair enough.
Yeah. These agents have made it to the suburbs now, so
They're close.
Yeah, they've picked up that there's something going on, and that somebody knows that, somebody knows something in this little community that they have set up. We go to where the mom is now. She's watering houseplants, which I thought I had never really thought of it before, but you don't see houseplants like you did back in the 80s.
No, my sister-in-law, Lee, she keeps houseplants.
Yeah.
But like most people I know,
We don't have a single one. We might have some, but they're fake. And Lee got us some bamboo, which we haven't watered in like 2 months. So
it's bamboo. You're straight.
Yeah.
Most people I know don't have houseplants, but people out there do have houseplants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we see where Gertie is going over into Elliot's room, and she has like this. She brought this dead houseplant with her, and a couple other things, and they're just trying to figure this dude out. And
it's like dead flowers.
Yeah,
like
E.T.'s in there stuffing his face, man.
Picking
this
out.
Dude cannot get enough to eat.
I think he's eating Reese's peanut butter cups.
It could be.
I saw
I can't
a lot
blame
of
him.
Orange wrappers.
Once again, another Reese's plug.
Yeah.
So they start trying to figure out where he's from, and Elliot gets the idea of saying, okay, so we're from Earth. This is Earth, and he holds out, this book of astronomy or whatever, and he's like, where are you from? And so, long story short, he grabs these like rolled up balls of Play-Doh and starts sticking them on this thing that looks like some sort of like solar system or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he uses his abilities to like levitate these balls of Play-Doh, and they start swirling around each other like planets would in a solar system.
Well, I think we've already determined he's using his Jedi mind trick.
Well, exactly.
Or Jedi powers
Right.
to make those things hover.
I want to see his lightsaber, just saying.
Could you imagine him like just flip, like Yoda style, just flip through
Just
there?
like super slow though.
Yeah, like a sloth.
Yeah, exactly.
But the investigators are definitely closing in. Mm-hmm. So after this, he makes like the house shake when he's making those clay pieces fly.
Yeah.
And at that point, you see that the investigators are getting closer.
Right. And Elliot actually makes notice. He's like, because Michael's like, what is that noise? And Elliot's like, it's something bad. And you can hear this beeping sound. Elliot goes outside to check it out, and you can hear there's this beeping going on outside, but he isn't sure what it is exactly. Then we see where E.T. actually brings these flowers back to life, which is pretty cool. And
so he has a healing power.
Mm-hmm. He does. The next day, we go to the bus stop where Elliot's now going to school.
Yeah.
And the kids start, once again, pecker slapping this poor kid, and basically making fun of him about his stupid goblin and all that. And Elliot actually tells him, what this thing is. He's like, it's an alien from outer space. And they're like, yeah, whatever, you're stupid.
Is he from Uranus?
Yeah. So funny. I love it. It's so dumb.
Dude, I used that joke for years when I was a kid.
Uranus?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right? Then they get into this stupid name-calling argument where Elliot keeps calling him zero charisma and stuff like that.
It's the most polite name shaming I've ever heard.
I do like in this movie, because there's a lot of movies that you watch where these kids will talk to each other and it sounds like adults wrote the dialogue, and you really don't get that from this movie. It sounds like something a kid would say, and I think a lot of it, like, especially in Drew Barrymore's case, I think that she was coming up with a lot of this stuff on the fly. And so anyway, something that your wife pointed out whenever he hops on the bus,
pure chaos.
Dude, they're throwing stuff, carrying on, like yelling and screaming. Mike, was your school bus ever like that?
I do. I rode the school bus for 2 years. It was my middle school years, and it looked like we all hated to be on it. So we stayed quiet. We rode our happy asses to fucking school.
Sad asses to school.
Yeah, and we kept our mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't have much to say, man.
We had like a Vietnam vet driving the bus.
Right.
Who fucking backhanded us at the first opportunity he had. Yeah.
Did not care.
Yeah.
I recall sharing like the contra codes and stuff like that on the bus, but it wasn't chaos like that,
How many times do you have to share that code?
Well, no, I mean, that's an example. Like, we would talk about video games or something that we found, like the Sonic the Hedgehog code, which I still remember, like the level select code. And
I remember the
stuff like
contra
that.
code still.
Yeah.
A, B, up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start.
You got it out of order, but you're correct though.
Oh, okay.
I think it's up, down, left, right, B, A, select, start.
A, B, select, start.
I think it's B, A, but I might be wrong. It's been a while.
We'll have to research that
one. Yeah, we owe you guys one. Mom almost catches E.T. She goes upstairs. She thinks she hears a noise. She goes upstairs and looks in the closet. There's a bunch of stuffed animals, and then you see his little face poking out.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
I love this scene. He holds his face so still. He doesn't blink.
Yeah, she thinks it's a toy. Whatever.
Moving on.
So good. We cut to where we see Elliot is in class, and he's drawing little pictures of E.T.
This may be the best scene in the whole movie.
I kind of agree. And once again, John Williams, like, aces it here, too.
So, basically, they're getting this lecture about how they're about to dissect these frogs. And we keep cutting back between the classroom and the kitchen. So the classroom is where Elliot is. The kitchen is where E.T. is.
Yeah, E.T.'s got free reign of the house.
Yeah, so E.T.'s like about to fucking raid the fridge. He's doing it up.
Yeah.
He takes some potato salad, throws it on the floor.
Doesn't like it.
Don't fuck that shit. I don't like that at all. Finds himself a Coors.
He likes that.
Takes it to the head.
Yeah, he does.
Takes it to the head. Elliot is fucked up immediately.
Feeling what he feels, he's feeling pretty ham hock squared right now.
So this is where the movie really shows us.
Yeah.
Those two are emotionally connected.
Yeah.
And E.T. doesn't stop at one.
No.
All right. We know there's a 6-pack at a minimum. And we see later in the scene, he's drank at least 5.
Yeah.
There's one still on like that 6-pack ring.
Right.
And Elliot's all kinds of jacked up.
He's burping in the middle of class, falling out of his chair.
He can't even hardly hold himself up in the chair.
He's struggling.
Yeah, so
by the way, just a real quick side note. The teacher, do you know who plays him?
No.
Harrison Ford.
What?
Yeah, Harrison Ford. You never see his face, but that's him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The teacher does a really good job.
It's fine.
Like he's really thoroughly
He's in it
explaining
for a couple minutes.
what their science project is going to be, or what their classroom project is going to be.
Right.
He does a really good job.
Yeah.
There's this little cutie blonde,
little blondie
that keeps like catching his attention, and he keeps catching her attention. And
right.
Then it cuts to basically like after their E.T. and Elliot are both hammered.
Right.
They reenact a scene from a movie. I think I had it written down. E.T. plays with the speaking spell. He watches Tom and Jerry, an alien movie, and then gets into some type of 1930s drama film.
Right. The alien movie he's watching is This Island Earth. It's a really bad movie. But it was featured on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie. Anyway, he goes through and he's checking out what's on TV, and then he sees in this comic book where there's this guy that's apparently stranded, and he has built himself a communicator to try to reach out to somebody that can save him.
I remember I saw the name of the comic strip and I recognized it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like Action Comics?
Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. So then E.T. sees where it says "Save me," and then Elliot's like, "Oh, we gotta save these frogs because they're all in these jars with this cotton balls with chloroform on them."
Yeah.
And so
they're killing these frogs.
Yeah.
To dissect them.
So yeah, he starts going around to all these different tables and taking these jars and opening them up.
He's like, "I got it for you."
Yeah. And
he's drunk.
Yeah, he is drunk. And one of the great scenes is where there's a little girl that's got the pigtails or whatever, and she's standing there. All these kids are piling the frogs on her feet, and she doesn't know what to do.
She's standing there like stationed.
I don't want to move. Yeah. And so then we get to a great part of it where he's watching that 1930s movie that you're talking about. And I guess in this movie there's some kind of windstorm or something, and like this guy's indoors and this woman leaves, and he reaches out to grab her and pulls her in for a kiss and all that. And Elliot reenacts the whole thing with the little blondie that he's in class with.
Like move for move.
Yeah.
Except for he steps on a bigger kid.
Steps on the other kid because he's shorter than her. And so then he even got a little pivot of the foot from the little kiss. I guess she thought it was all right. Yeah.
She liked it.
She was digging it, which is kind of nice to see a little budding romance type of thing.
You couldn't get away with that today.
No.
that is sexual assault today.
Yeah, him grabbing a girl and basically pulling her in
and kissing her.
Yeah.
There's a commercial actually about that, where like the guy says something about like, "Oh, you smell really nice," or something. She's like, "Thank you." Like the girls are second to the compliment, but then he just moves in on a kiss on her, and she doesn't like that.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean it's right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be just kissing girls.
No.
That aren't into kissing you.
Right.
For sure.
But
the scene that was in this movie would not be acceptable today.
No, it wouldn't. And it's kind of a sweet scene in and of itself. And I could go on all day about, like, because, I mean, back in that era, there was the whole thing where, like, oh, she's just playing hard to get. But nowadays, it's like, no, if she tells you to stop, then you need to, like...
And you should stop.
Right.
If she says no, you should definitely listen.
Yeah. But as a scene in a movie, it plays out pretty cool.
Right.
So
we
see where E.T. is gathering up all this crap. He's
building a bunch of shit.
Yeah, he's got the Mr. Spell. He's got like a blender. Speaking spell.
I had one.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Limp Bizkit made it famous in a song too.
Oh, that Behind Blue Eyes thing. Yeah. No, that was that wasn't Limp Bizkit.
Say it.
That was
Discover.
That was Fred Durst. What was his thing?
That's Limp Bizkit.
Oh, I was thinking Linkin Park for some reason. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that was a horrible cover of that song, by the way. But
agreed.
Yeah. He's gathering up all this crap. He's got like a blender and some random wires and shit.
Umbrella.
Yeah. And so anyway, Gertie is taking it upon herself to go ahead and tell her mom about this alien that they found.
I love this.
Yeah. But the mom is so preoccupied with the groceries and the dry cleaning and all this stuff, and she finds all these beer cans on the floor that she
doesn't say anything about beer cans.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
Someone's been drinking.
Right. All my kids are supposed to be gone today, but somebody broke in and drank my beer. And so anyway, Gertie's like, she's like, here's the guy I was telling you about, the little alien.
I want you to meet somebody.
Yeah. Mom opens the fridge and knocks him smooth out
and
on
she
his
says,
ass.
I think you already killed him.
Man, I saw that and I didn't, by this point I was trying to not give away anything in the movie because I didn't want to talk too much, but I like audibly laughed out loud. That doesn't happen very often.
Me too.
Yeah, it was really funny for some reason.
It was perfect timing.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, because in the way that E.T. fell down.
Right.
Just tits first, just pop.
Right. Well, she says, I think you killed him already, implying that at some point Mom was going to kill him. But all of a sudden Mom gets a call, and it's Elliot's school, and they're talking about how he's intoxicated, apparently.
He's in trouble.
Yeah, he is in trouble. And he freed these frogs and whatnot. And so she says that she's going to leave Gertie at home.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
She's going to leave Gertie at home while she goes to get Elliot. She's 6.
This is her ass out alone.
It's the 80s, I guess. So I guess my point, though, is... so you have a daughter who will be creeping up on 6 years old here before too long. Would you leave her at home alone?
Hell no.
Right. No.
Hell
absolutely not.
Before Mom leaves, by the way, we find out E.T. can talk.
Yeah, he starts jabbering to her, and she's like watching Sesame Street, and she's going through the letter B, and he's like starting to pick up on stuff. And I looked on the TV, I don't know if you noticed this or not, they're rocking a Atari 2600, an old ass Atari.
No, Shane, I did not notice that.
What does Mom do for a living, is what I'm wondering.
Balling out of control.
Dude, they've got a big ass house, they got a fucking ton of toys and stuff.
You can do like activities in all the closets.
Yeah, like they have this big closet that like branches these 2 bedrooms together, and like it's the size of one of the bedrooms in my house. You know, like,
I don't know what they got going on.
Ridiculous.
Maybe Dad in Mexico with Sally is balling. I don't know.
I'm guessing Mom got to keep the house. You know.
Yeah.
But what happens next?
What does happen next?
Elliot comes home from school. Of course, Mom's pissed, and
well, he's fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Hungover.
Right, he's looking hungover, like holding his head and stuff. And she hears Gertie in her room talking. And he goes into her room, and she sees where, like, or he sees where she's got E.T. like dressed up in like this wig and like this dress and like fancy fur coat and all this crap, you know.
So there was an actual toy of E.T. dressed
really?
like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I had that toy.
That's so good.
I had that toy. It was a miniature. You know, it was like
Yeah, like a G.I. Joe or something.
2.5 to 3 inches tall.
Right.
It had the wig and the hat and all that shit.
Who makes a toy out of that?
I don't know. You could take all the pieces off.
Yeah.
I kept them all on.
Wow. He was dressed up.
I mean,
nice.
he was looking good.
Looking sharp, yeah. So
Elliot makes a big deal about it. He's like, at least give him his dignity.
right? All of a sudden, E.T. starts talking. He's like, oh my god, he can talk. You know?
Oh, did you notice when E.T. pulls his wig off? Or Elliot pulls E.T.'s wig off?
E.T. pulls it off.
Yeah, E.T. pulls it off. He's got earrings on.
Yeah, and she has rings on his fingers too, I noticed.
What are the earrings attached to?
He doesn't have ears. I don't know. I didn't even think about it.
It fucked with me.
Yeah. So he hears him start talking, and he actually has learned enough at this point to tell Elliot that he wants to call home or phone home.
Phone home.
Yes.
E.T. phone home.
Right. The line
Yeah.
that everybody remembers, yeah.
So they immediately start trying to build some type of device to call home.
Yeah, Michael and Elliot start rummaging through the garage to try to find odds and ends that he can use to help build this communicator thing. They don't realize at the time that there's these government agents driving around in this van out in their neighborhood.
Listening to their entire
listening to-
conversations.
Which I'm sure in the 80s was a big significant thing. Nowadays it's not.
Yeah, but there's bugs in the house. Like, these kids aren't on cell phones.
I think that they're using a thing and like aiming it at the houses.
Like what you see on a football field?
I don't know. Do they have those on a football field?
This is when you learn who you're talking to.
Right? The Star Trek guy.
When you're in a football field, like they have this big radar dome kind of looking thing that has a mic in the middle.
Picks up on sound from far away.
It can aim it and pick up like conversations.
Because you could tell whenever they're driving along that they're listening to these houses and there are people talking about random stuff. And then they finally got to the house where they heard these kids in the garage talking about like, oh, he looks like he's sick and stuff like that. And that's where they stopped the van. And so I think they're just trying to narrow down which house this creature could be at.
Well, they nailed it.
Yeah. Pretty right off the bat, yeah. Mm-hmm. They start reminiscing about Dad a little bit. The Dad subplot really doesn't factor into the movie all that much.
Not really at all. Mm-hmm. We just know there's a missing dad.
Right. Which is another Spielberg trait, like a characteristic of his movies.
Well, his parents were divorced when he was a child.
Yeah.
So he talks about that a little bit. I only know that. I'm not some super film nerd. I just know that because we watched the making of.
The making of, yeah.
So they cut to a scene where he's in the closet of Gertie, listening to Mom.
Real quick. Michael said that he thinks the E.T. doesn't look so good, and he wonders if he's sick. And Elliot's like, "We're fine," is what he tells him.
Oh yeah, and he makes a big deal about the we thing.
Mm-hmm. He's like, "What are you talking about? We, yeah." Yeah. Anyway, we cut to where Mom's reading Gertie a bedtime story.
Right.
Yeah.
Mom tells the best bedtime stories, by the way.
She does. Mine do not get that like in depth at all.
I don't. Look, Mom, Dad, I love you both. I don't remember you guys telling me bedtime stories ever.
No? I tell my daughter bedtime stories, but most of the time I'm looking for something short so I can get it knocked out.
Yeah, we'll read one real short one.
Right. Once upon a time, you went to sleep.
The end.
And I lived happily ever after. So Elliot's getting all of his crap that they found out in the garage, and he winds up cutting his finger on like this bandsaw looking thing, the saw blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And E.T., like, sure enough, has this little glowy finger that he holds up and touches it. And
ouch.
Yeah. Elliot's good to go. That finger is no longer hurt.
Yeah, he heals it.
Mm-hmm. He does. Which I guess we could go into a little bit now. There's a lot of biblical type of imagery in this movie, I think. Whenever you get into like this creature from up above that came down and could heal people by touching him, and he died and rose again, you know, and stuff like that. Like, I think that there's, to me, it would seem really coincidental if it's not intentional. Like,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Really?
Even while watching the movie tonight, like not even as a kid, but just watching it tonight, I didn't think of that at all. But now that you, especially when you mentioned like the rose from the dead,
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because I have my own theories as to why they're saying that E.T. looks like he's sick. But we'll go into that because it factors in a little bit more. So going on.
So he gets his finger healed. Mm-hmm. They listen to Mom finish the bedtime story, and then we cut to Halloween.
Yeah, well, E.T.'s putting his crap together. Yeah, and then it does jump to Halloween pretty much. Why don't you tell us about Michael's costume?
So we don't see it.
No.
But we see Elliot and Gertie getting ready. Elliot's putting on his hunchback makeup.
Right.
Which I didn't know Hunchback had makeup, but he's putting on a Hunchback makeup.
Right.
Gertie's sitting up there looking as adorable as can be in her cowgirl outfit.
Yeah, she's rocking the hat.
She looks like Jessie from Toy Story.
I was thinking like Jean-Benet Ramsey.
Man, you're so much twisted.
I mean, I'm just saying.
And all of a sudden you hear Mom yell, "No, you won't be dressed like a terrorist."
Yeah, you won't make it 4 blocks. I don't even remember.
He was like, all the guys are doing it.
Right. Why are his friends dressing up like terrorists, number one?
I don't know.
Number two, I think terrorism is more prevalent nowadays than it was in the 80s.
I'm shocked every time we watch one of these old movies and they use the word terrorist.
Right.
Because it wasn't in my Blibicon when I was growing up.
Yeah, that was... Nowadays you raise kids, and that's not that uncommon of a thing, but I didn't know anything about terrorists back then.
Me either.
Even in, like, Back to the Future, they talk about, the Libyans, you know, these guys that are driving around in this VW with this bazooka, you know, like, these terrorist dudes.
The Libyans.
Yeah. But, yeah, so he wants to dress up like a terrorist, and Mom convinces him not to. Instead, he puts this goofy... thing over his head that looks like he's got a knife going through his head and puts a bowler cap over it.
Right.
Yeah. And so then Mom wants to take pictures, and that's another great scene.
It really is good.
Yeah.
So Mom was dressed up like a sexy cat.
Sexy cat. She wears it well.
By the way, she's wearing a wig.
Yeah.
It's a curly, short-haired blonde wig. She already has blonde,
Curl your hair. Yeah.
But she's wearing a wig.
I don't know.
And the kids come out. All 3 of them, as it appears. They've actually... Let's talk about the plan. Okay.
They've hatched out this plan.
They go through it really quick.
Yeah, they don't even really talk about it all that much. What they've done, essentially, is... They've dressed Gertie up in this sheet. And they want her to... basically be... they want her to act like she's dressed up like a ghost. And then the other 2 guys dress up however they were going to. And then what they did is they basically sent her packing on her way. And then they put a sheet over E.T. so that they could get him out of the house. And they put these goofy big-ass shoes on him.
Clown shoes.
Yeah, they're trying to pass E.T. off as Gertie.
Right.
Hoping that Mom doesn't look under the sheet.
Well, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. But then Mom goes to take a picture of him, which is great.
Because just falls the fuck over again.
Right. At first he notices that Michael's got this fake knife through his head, and like E.T. thinks that he's seriously injured, and so he's trying to
ouch.
Yeah, he's trying to heal this head wound that Michael doesn't have. So he's like, put it away, it's a fake knife. No, you know.
Stop.
Yeah. And then Mom goes to take this Polaroid with the flash on, and catches him completely off guard, and he falls on his ass again, which is great.
They snatch his ass.
Yeah, because Mom's over there fumbling with the picture. Yeah, she doesn't notice.
But was, to me, the only part of that whole scene that fucks with me is I have a little girl. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right.
And if she's under that costume, I'm going to say something to her.
Yeah.
Like, you are such a scary little ghost, or you look so adorable.
Right.
And she's going to say something back to me.
Right. Give me a kiss before you leave.
Yeah. No,
none of that.
Nothing.
Okay, bye. Yeah.
Peace out, homie.
Right.
Maybe it's because she's the 3rd kid.
That could be. Because
we're both still on our 1st kid.
Mm-hmm.
2nd one on the way for you, buddy.
Right. But yeah, number 3, I can imagine I probably wouldn't give much of a shit. So good luck. Don't die.
So they go out into the streets, and the streets are packed with trick-or-treaters.
I wrote that down. Halloween back in the 80s looks awesome.
As a trick-or-treater back in the 80s, it was awesome.
We went trick-or-treating this past year, and it was dog shit by
Same
comparison.
for us.
Yeah.
Same for
us.
us.
We saw like 2 other groups of people that were walking around. there was one guy that he was driving his kids around, and then they'd hop out of the car and then go ring the doorbell and then hop back in the car and bounce once they got their trick or treat,
Yeah.
And like, it was crap, dude.
I remember like that being the event of the year.
It's like a block party in this movie,
Yeah, they're all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
They come across Yoda.
Yeah.
That E.T. calls home.
Another Star Wars reference, yeah. So anyway, he basically, Michael parts ways with Elliot, and what they're going to do is grab this communicator that E.T. has built, go out to this clearing in the wood so that he can set it up and try to make contact with his alien counterparts, I guess.
AKA phone home.
Right, he's going to phone home.
Yeah.
Long story short. He starts riding his bike, and then I guess he's not going fast enough, and E.T.'s like, here, I got this.
No, he comes to a big cliff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's riding in, and like they're riding through the woods. Then it's really foggy, and then he decides, and then all of a sudden E.T. just kind of takes over.
Yep.
And they fly over this cliff.
Iconic scene in movie history.
Crosses the moon. I mean, how cool is that?
Right. It's classic. Yeah.
Imagine being Elliot at this point.
Oh yeah, loving it, dude. We after that he manages to touchdown, which is funny. He's like, please don't crash.
Don't crash.
Crashes. Yeah. And so anyway, he starts setting all this crap up. One thing I thought was kind of cool is that he has this umbrella that he's like covered with this reflective sort of paper on the inside or whatever, and he's using that as like this little satellite dish,
right?
Which is kind of neat, kind of resourceful.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, I don't know that much about satellite dishes, but
the thing that doesn't make sense to me is that as soon as they get all the gear set up, they have the saw blade on like a record player and like a metal pick and a fork.
Yeah, he's got a fork that's pulling this saw blade.
That's connected to a tree that moves from the wind.
Right.
As soon as it starts moving and it's typing in random ass shit into the speaking spell.
Right.
Elliot starts screaming, "It's working!
It's working!" Yeah.
How the fuck does he know it's working?
I mean, he can't read that language.
It's doing something.
Yeah. It could be gibberish for all he knows, yeah.
You don't know it's working.
I would assume that he's talking about, like, it's, like, the whole process of this fork pulling this thing and it, like, typing out letters and stuff like that is working. But no, he doesn't know that it's actually functioning properly. It might be bouncing off of the atmosphere, coming back down, like Earth.
Or,
for all he knows.
It's the connected to E.T. thing.
That is a possibility.
E.T. knows it's working.
And so he's excited about it too.
So Elliot is expressing the emotion that E.T. is feeling.
Right, yeah. That, see, once again, man, I don't know. I guess I haven't watched this movie as much as you have. So, Mom had told them originally to be back no later than an hour after sunset. And here we are, it's who knows how late now. And she's getting pissed. And so anyway, she takes off on her car. She's going to go look for these kids. And so then we cut to where these agents have decided that they're going to storm the house and start trying to collect evidence.
Well,
what's going on?
Elliot tries to convince E.T. to stay because he doesn't think it's working now.
Right.
They stay in the woods all night long.
Right.
Mom calls the cops.
Right.
And then while she's reporting the missing person, Elliot shows up.
Right.
And he's looking bad.
Mm-hmm. He looks rough. One thing that I do like, and I don't know if you picked up on this or not, while I was watching the movie, you see where they're like going through Elliot's room or whatever, and they're using some kind of machine that has like this spool of wire on it or whatever, and they're like going through, and you can see that it's like unspooling this wire as they move this machine around or whatever, and it's kind of one of those neat little Spielberg type things where you can see that like the wire starts to unspool, and then it like unspools faster and faster and faster until like, so it's basically alluding to the fact that they have found something, you know, that they picked up on.
Except for his room is 100 feet by 100 feet according to that cable. There's a giant spool of cable.
Right.
And they use all of it.
They do.
I don't know if anybody on this who's listening to this right now has ever vacuumed your house. But you can pretty much vacuum the whole room with what you got on the vacuum cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they use up a few vacuum cleaners worth of cord.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the next day Elliot's looking pretty bad, and Mom's pissed, but she's happy to see him. She's glad that he's safe. And Elliot tells Michael, he's like, I could not find E.T. when I woke up. Can you go out to the woods and find him for me? And so then we show where Michael is on his bike going out to the woods.
He's a beast on a bicycle.
He is a beast on a bike because he's being followed. Or at least that's what they allude to.
Oh, the cops are chasing him.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And so, you see him and he goes up that huge slope, dude, and takes it like a pro, He goes out to this clearing in the wood, and where the machine is at, E.T.'s nowhere to be found.
But he finds the sheet.
Yeah, he finds a sheet. He follows him out to this little ravine-looking thing, like a creek.
Storm drain.
Yeah, there you go. And there's this dead-looking carcass of E.T. out there.
E.T. looks terrible.
And there's like this raccoon like chilling by him and stuff.
Like, get the fuck away!
Yeah.
Don't eat E.T.
Right. And we have a real quick moment where the guys that are the government agents are like basically have everything that they need at this point, and they start walking toward the house.
This is when, like, if you haven't noticed it already, the John Williams soundtrack really takes hold.
It does.
And this is also, if you haven't noticed it already, where the John Williams soundtrack in E.T. starts to sound a whole lot like Star Wars.
It does. It's definitely takes on, like with the kid stuff, with the alien and all that, it's really whimsical. And in this, it's really intimidating sounding stuff.
Well, whenever the investigators show up, it sounds a whole lot like Darth Vader and his crew are there.
I can see that. Yeah.
And when the kids are running around doing their thing, it sounds like a Luke Skywalker Jedi type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, we make all these references to Star Wars, the soundtrack, all this stuff. You gotta remember, this is 1982. When did the first Star Wars come out?
77. So this is 5 years later.
Yeah, and they're still releasing Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, Return of the Jedi wasn't out at this point.
So, like, it makes sense that the kid has Star Wars toys.
Right.
It makes sense that the soundtrack sounds a lot like Star Wars because it's still current.
Yeah, the two blend together really well. I was going to say something, but I don't remember what. But it probably wasn't important to you. Oh, I was going to say this, is that you have themes in this movie, like musical themes when it comes to John Williams. And that's something you don't see that much of nowadays, is, nowadays it's just random violins or cellos or whatever. But in this, he actually has, like, E.T. as a theme, and Elliot has a theme, and the government agents, they have their own theme, and stuff like that. And it gives it a whole other, I think, a level of complexity, I guess, to the score, which I appreciate.
I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so they decide they're going to tell Mom about this thing now.
Don't have a choice.
No, because this thing's dying, and they really don't know what to do. And so...
Elliot's dying.
Yeah, he's looking bad. And so they're like, Mom, we finally caught this thing that's been out in the backyard. And she goes upstairs and she looks, and there's E.T. looking white as a sheet, and he's laying in the floor. And she's like, oh, you got the goblin at first, and then she
says
sees
it's brilliant.
Yeah. And she reaches its arm out and says, Mom, and she starts tripping, which I actually really like her reaction, because that is exactly how she's like, get him out of here now. She's talking to Michael, like, get Gertie out of here, and so then Michael and Gertie go downstairs, open the door, and NASA's there.
Busted astronauts.
Yeah. Why are they wearing astronaut suits?
I don't know. I was gonna ask you. I thought maybe you knew something.
I got the idea that they don't really know what kind of entity that they're working with here, and so they don't know what kind of exposure they might have. But there's biohazard suits that you could wear. You don't have to look like an astronaut and freak everybody out,
So the astronaut scene really messed with me, because immediately after the astronaut chases them down, catches them inside the house.
Yeah.
A bunch of dudes wearing what you would expect to see.
Regular suits.
Show up.
Yeah.
They quarantine the whole house.
Biohazard suits, yeah. Question for you. So whenever they go up to the one guy in the astronaut suit goes up to the bathroom, it looks like, to me, it sounded like whenever he sees E.T. on the floor, that E.T. reaches up and says home. Is that supposed to be alluding to the fact that maybe we have traveled to a planet and these creatures have seen us in these suits before? Or is he just saying that this is an alien looking thing? Or what was your take on that?
I did think about that.
Yeah.
And for me, the thought of that he's seen one before did cross my mind.
Right.
Or they're advanced enough to know that we have space travel.
Right.
And that maybe this guy is a way to get home.
Oh, I got you.
But I don't know which one's the right answer.
That seems more realistic to me because at this point, and by this point in 2018, the only non-terrestrial place that we've set foot on was the moon. To my knowledge, unless there's some government cover-up where
We've never set foot on
Yeah.
anything else. So either he knew we had space travel capability,
Right.
or he's seen one.
I kind of like your notion better is that he sees the possibility of space travel being a method to get home. So, yeah, we could... I'll give it that. We cut to... we finally see who this Keys fellow is, who's jingling these keys around on his belt loop.
But do they show us that it's him?
Yeah, so it shows him, and he's putting on one of those like biohazard
Does he have
suits,
the
and he's
keys
like
on?
tucking the keys into his biohazard suit.
I missed that part
yeah.
then. Okay.
And he's just a guy, just a nice guy.
A really nice guy.
Yeah, he's not being a dick or anything. And that's one thing I like about this movie is there's not an antagonist really. Nobody's being an asshole here, you know.
Yeah.
Like they're just doing their job, and he's curious about the alien too. You know, the other aliens weren't trying to be mean or wage war or invade or anything. You know, like everybody's nice enough. You know,
They're all polite.
yeah.
We see that an investigator of some sort is talking to Michael,
Yeah.
and he says, "So Elliot thinks his thoughts?" And he says, "No, Elliot feels his feelings."
Right.
So there's a distinct difference there.
Right. I'd agree.
And then what I wrote down as a nice government guy is Keys. And he goes and talks to Elliot. And
Yeah.
he's like, "This has been my dream."
Yeah, since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I wanted to see an alien too. And then one thing that it's a great line in the movie is he goes, "You did as good as anybody could have, and I'm glad he met you first," which is such a great line, dude. Because this guy knows, as being part of this government entity, what they would have done to him if they would have found him first. You know.
Yeah, and it really like shows the heart of the piece.
Right. And that this guy isn't a jerk, and
Right.
that he identifies with Elliot and his plight. You know, which is great.
I like
really
it.
like
I mean, it really made a difference in the film. For me.
Because it would have been really easy for this guy to be some nefarious government agent to, haha, we got your alien now, you know. And so now the rest of the movie is us versus them, which it kind of turns into anyway, but it's less stereotypical, I guess.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So we get to it looks as though, so Elliot and E.T.'s vital signs are both deteriorating quickly.
Right.
And Elliot's freaking out, and E.T. can do nothing. He doesn't have the strength to do anything but like look at E.T. or look at Elliot. And then I put down that he broke the link, because basically their vital signs were mirroring each other's, and then Elliot started to go back to normal, whereas E.T.'s still continued to deteriorate.
Yeah, I think in the movie the text called it like they're separating.
Yeah, something. Yeah, and I think they're just talking about their vital signs were breaking off from each other. But yeah, that's what I gathered anyway, was that he knew he was dying and he didn't want Elliot to, and so he broke things off.
And that's when the little boy like shines.
Kills it, bro.
Like when he is at his weakest, and he's calling out to E.T. like, "Look, I'm not saying this is an Oscar nominated character,
Right.
but the way he's like,
Yeah.
like
sucking air, you know. Yeah.
like for a 10-year-old, he did an amazing job.
It was really good.
And as their vitals started to separate, he slowly got stronger.
Right. By the end of it, whenever E.T.'s actually like struggling to stay alive, then he's back to full strength and he's wrestling around and, hey, you're killing him, you know, and stuff
He's
like that.
ripping his fucking
all the
what are those
sensors,
sticker
and,
things. All of them? Yeah.
So we cut over to one thing I thought was funny as they show on E.T. they have like these diode looking things that are like stuck to his head.
Right.
Those are gator clips.
Yeah, they're like clamped onto his head.
Yeah, I was like, what is that doing? It's like Elliot gets stickers and you're gonna pinch this poor dude's like skin on his head with this
Pinch a flap, it'll work.
Yeah, that'll help him feel better. So Michael, it's weird because they've turned this whole Elliot and his family's house into like this quarantined area, but the kids still pretty much have like free reign of the house because like upstairs,
walk anywhere they want.
yeah, Michael like goes in the closet and grabs a stuffed animal, goes to sleep, whatever, and he wakes up the next morning to see that the flowers that E.T. had resurrected are now dying, signifying that E.T. is now passed away.
And these flowers have been like a signal at this point of the film of like vibrant life versus death.
Right. So we get to where E.T. dies, and they go through and they start using this defibrillator on him, and
they try to save him like a human.
Right, not very effectively.
Doing chest compressions.
I mean, they don't know anything about him. What else are you gonna do?
Nothing about him.
Right.
They're just like, attack it like it's a human.
Something, yeah. Get some air going, I guess. But one thing that I like is whenever they hit him with the paddles, is Gertie, Drew Barrymore.
Jumps.
She like jumps. Yeah, it's not even that big of a moment, but it's just such a
real
great
moment.
acting. Yeah, very genuine. Yeah, and so I did think it was weird that they're like running around trying to save this dude's life, and she's just standing there like, somebody get this kid out of here.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, she even says to mom, like, is he dying?
Yeah.
Or is he dead?
Yeah, mom's like, I don't know,
so?
I think so. And she says something to the effect, and it's a reference to her Peter Pan book, and she says something like, I wish him to come back, and the mom's like, I wish he did too. And that was basically how that finished out. So they give Elliot a moment to chill with the body.
Well, they roll a perfectly sized freezer
Yeah.
into the room. Like, good thing this alien wasn't a foot taller.
Right.
Because he wouldn't have fit in it.
Yeah. We just happen to have this thing ideal for this situation.
4 foot long. Worked out.
Right. These guys have been welding on this thing all night. So they stick him in this freezer thing, and they're like, do you want a moment with the body? And he's like, yeah, I'll check him out. And so he's talking to him, telling him he's sorry about everything. Let me ask you this. What do you think it is that killed E.T.?
I have no fucking idea. I really don't. I thought about it.
Yeah.
And I could come up with a bunch of fucking stuff I pulled out of my ass.
Yeah.
But I have no idea.
A lot of people have speculated that it's a disconnection from his alien species.
That makes the most sense.
Over time. The other thing that I was thinking of is, and this is a little bit more scientific, but the exposure to like human germs, and his immune system is not in any way capable of handling those germs.
To me, the separation... Okay, so scientifically, the germs make the most sense.
Right.
But as far as the film is
From a
concerned...
narrative standpoint,
the separation from his own species makes the most sense.
Right.
Because we saw in the opening scene they communicate through their hearts.
Right. And the first thing he did when he found Elliot was connect to him. Right. So he has some sort of like a symbiotic relationship with, these other creatures.
And at this point, Elliot hangs out with him, and then as he's crying and starts to leave, he sees the flowers start to come back, and he turns around and looks, and he sees that the chest is glowing.
Yeah.
So, and E.T. is excited.
Right. And he says, does that mean they're coming back? So I guess that does make sense that he would start to recover as these aliens
closer.
came into proximity with him. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they didn't really explain it, but not everything has to be explained in movies either.
Well,
so.
an alien's not going to explain to you what the fuck's going on.
Right. He doesn't know how. He just learned how to talk 2 days ago. Yeah.
He knows how to say "be good."
Mm-hmm. And so I wrote down he's alive. The flowers perk up, and so we get this great scene where first he tells Michael that he's alive, and Michael gets excited and jumps and busts his head in the doorway. Yeah. And then so they hatch out this plan how they're gonna get him out of there, and so Gertie comes walking through to her mom, and she's like, "Are they gone yet?" And she's like, "Is who gone?" And she's like, "The boys." And she's like, "Why? What are you talking about?" And she's like, "They said to give you this note when they were gone." And she's like, "Why don't you just give me the note right now?" And like, I don't think we ever read what's in the note.
No.
But she's like, "Oh my god!" And so
I think they tell her the plan.
yeah. So they hijack this van where they're going to transport E.T.
They steal a van and E.T.
Yeah. He's in the back of the van. Michael and Elliot are. And it's great because they have this plastic tube that's running from the van to the house. And so Michael takes off with this stupid tube in tow behind
it. It says,
it.
I've never driven forward.
Never driven forward before. There's these two scientists that are in this tube. And they're basically getting dragged around all over the place. And Elliot doesn't know what to do. He's just seeing these guys that are like climbing up this tube toward him. And so he notices there's these little keys, and he starts pulling them out, and he notices that's what's keeping the plastic tubing connected to the van.
Yeah, and as they start to roll, though, Mike tells his buddies, like, grab your bicycles, meet us at this location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to meet at this playground. And so, sure enough, Elliot pulls all the...
Helicopters in pursuit, by the way.
Yeah.
There's like 20 fucking cop cars in pursuit.
I thought it was weird, too, because I talked to... Mom's getting ready to leave. And she's going to try to see if she can't catch these guys. And so she's backing out in her Audi. And this Keys fellow, the next thing you know is he's like, where are you guys going? And Gertie's running her big mouth. And she's like, we're going to go meet with the guys that are going to the moon and all this other stuff. Why does Keys know nothing about this alien being kidnapped just now? Like this alien body? Nobody told him?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. In the movie, they make it seem like it happened simultaneously.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you would think immediately there'd be somebody like, hey, they're taking off with the body. And he would know what's going on.
Yeah, especially since there was like a guy, I don't know who he was.
Oh, yeah, tapping on the glass.
But he worked for the agency. Yeah. He's like, well, what are you doing?
Right.
And then he called in like 19 henchmen. And none of them could stop Michael in the van.
Mm-hmm. But, so he tells his buddies to meet him at this playground. And so they meet him there. And you get, once again, in my opinion, some sort of, like, biblical referencing where, you know, you see, like, this puff of smoke. And there's E.T. and he's standing there like a resurrected Jesus almost. And he's got these, like, sheets over him that look like robes, kind of, you know. And so I kind of got some imagery from that.
It makes sense because, actually, a lot of Christianity art... the heart is brightened. Yeah,
it's visible, definitely.
For lack of a better word, it's lit up.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
man,
you're bringing up some points I never saw really about this film.
Yeah.
Did you catch the Star Trek joke?
Oh yeah. Why didn't they just beam him up?
Yeah. He's like, this is reality.
This is reality, Greg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg's the one with the headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that look like something crazy going on. Those are some big-ass headphones.
And there's the big bike chase.
That is one of my favorite chase scenes of any movie, actually.
So, this is what I talked about earlier where I said I'd explain it to you.
Okay.
And you said something about construction.
Right.
So, what they're riding through is a housing development.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I know that is because I used to love to ride my bike.
The stupid housing development.
And me and my friends,
right,
4 to 5 of us, pretty similar to this movie, and it had nothing to do, like, we weren't reliving the E.T.
Let's act out E.T.
Yeah. We were just out riding our bikes, and if you watch the scene, it looks like a fun place to ride.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
We used to do little mini jumps. Mm-hmm. I mean, we weren't ex-gamers by any exaggeration of the imagination. We were just kids riding our bikes,
just having fun,
and we used to get chased by security guards.
Did you really?
Yeah. That patrolled like the housing development as they were doing construction. Mm-hmm. And damn, it was fun. Matter of fact, it was so much fun. We would wear white T-shirts.
Yeah.
So that when the mud and dirt and everything slung up on us, like our shirts would get dirtier.
Oh yeah.
Just as like a trophy.
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do with accomplishing anything except for look at how dirty my shirt got.
Right. We always lived out of town, so we never got to do any of that fun stuff.
Well, I grew up in Southern California, and like every time you turn around, there was a new neighborhood.
Right.
So there was always prime bike riding grounds.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to do like a jump when you're going to a lower level.
Oh yeah, yeah. In this, we cut to where basically all of the guys that were with Michael and Elliot, all of Michael's buddies, they think that they're basically free and clear. They're like, oh, we made it. And so all of a sudden all these guys come rushing out of nowhere And they scoop him up, and they're trying to grab him. And we see that they've set up this roadblock, and there's a guy there with a shotgun, which was later edited in the 2002 release to be walkie-talkies. It's so dumb.
Because cut all the drama out of the scene.
That's what I was, oh no, they're going to walkie-talkie him. Yeah. And so anyway, right as they're about to get scooped up by the roadblock, E.T. does his levitation thing, and they fly out to the site.
They all fly.
Yeah, they all fly.
All 5 riders fly.
Mm-hmm. And they go to this clearing in the wood where the ship is supposed to land.
This is the one cheesy part of the film for me. When they're flying, they all make like really obviously cheesy faces.
Yeah, they
like,
do.
Whoa!
Yeah. One guy's like, "Ooh, get me out of here!" Yeah,
the other guy's like, "Eee."
Really dumb. Yeah, but I mean, it's the 80s.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it was the one spot in the film, like, really?
That's pretty. It's not dissimilar from.
You should all be pooping yourselves. Right now.
It's like maybe the Goonies or something silly, you know,
right.
Whatever. Yeah,
I love the Goonies.
Yeah. So finally, Mom and Gertie arrive as the guys all land there, and this the ship is landing.
Keys.
Yeah, Keys is there too, and so everybody says their goodbyes.
Elliot says, or no, excuse me. E.T. says, "Come."
Yeah. Then Elliot's like, "Stay." Yeah.
And then they go through this ouch sequence. Yeah. Like, their heart are hurting.
Right.
So they say, ouch.
Yeah.
And then
E.T. goes in for the hug.
Yeah, they hug it out. Gertie does like a little kiss on the face.
Right.
Michael rubs his forehead.
I was actually going to say that I think that Michael has like the coolest character arc in this movie, because at the beginning of the movie, he's kind of like the jerk older brother. And then as the movie progresses, it's almost like he starts to really feel like this appreciation for his younger brother. And then by the end of the movie, you actually see him like do like gentle gestures and stuff like that. And it's something that's completely at odds with what you would have saw at the beginning of the movie.
So what rank are you in the sibling?
I'm second.
Second.
Yeah.
Out of 3?
Second out of 3.
Okay. So middle child.
It's rough.
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
All right. It's our job to be assholes.
That's true.
Just so you know. It's our job to beat the shit out of you.
Right. We gotta rough you up, so yeah.
So you can be tougher than me.
Older kids breaking new ground with mom and dad, and I'm gonna take it out on you. Yeah.
So they go through the whole scene, and then the shuttle launches.
Yep.
And it puts a beautiful rainbow in the
sky. John Williams, once again, killing it with the orchestra.
E.T. goes home.
Yep, he leaves. And I guess the plot, you could describe it as like a kid finds an alien and helps him get home. But there's a lot more to it than that. It's good stuff. So,
I mean, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. That is the plot. You know, E.T. or an alien and a child find each other, and they build a relationship, and then the kid helps the alien go home.
The difference is there's a lot of character stuff, though, you know.
And the pacing's so good.
It is.
I talked about this a couple times. For me, with a film, like, pacing is so key.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a filmmaker.
Right.
I'm not a film, where those people get paid to write articles about them.
Like a reviewer?
Yeah, I'm not a film reviewer.
Yeah, film review, whatever, yeah.
I'm just a fan of films.
Right.
And when pacing is good,
yeah,
it makes the film so much better.
I agree. I will say that, like, this movie runs at just under 2 hours, and you know, if it's poorly paced, then...
So did this review, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. If the movie's poorly paced, though, then you can tell. I mean, the 2 hours is a slog to get through, you know. So yeah, this one really aced it. Overall, how would you liked it? Obviously,
I loved it.
Yeah,
it's
a great movie.
I had so much fun watching it again tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
This is a movie I think gets better every time I watch it, honestly.
How many years ago did that movie come out?
This was 36 years ago. Yeah. It stands up really well.
34 years ago.
Well, it's 2018, 1982, so yeah, 36.
36 years ago.
36. It's crazy to think about.
And it's so good.
Still, yeah, really good stuff.
It's so good.
Yep. Anything else you want to add? Oh, by the way, I own a copy of the 2002 release where Steven Spielberg went through and butchered his own works and it's awful. If you get a chance, in fact, Spielberg has actually gone on record saying that it was a horrible decision to go back and re-add all this crap into his movie, and it was probably not the best thing to do. And in fact, all the subsequent like re-releases they have nowadays, it's all the original cut. So, but overall, yeah, it's a great movie. It's not Steven Spielberg's best, I don't think.
It's good though.
I'm still a Saving Private Ryan guy.
It's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, which is one we'll talk about later this year, by the way. But.
So overall, what would I say? Watch this movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Everybody's seen it.
No,
if you're,
they haven't, man. I'm telling you, like, there's people younger than us who have not seen this movie.
kind of like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. If you have children who haven't seen this movie, expose them to it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
There's some creepy stuff early on, but
The only thing you have to worry about if you have younger kids is E.T. screaming. Other than that, like, it's love. Like, the movie's all about love and taking care of each other.
yeah,
You know, you should support that. So,
yeah,
watch the movie.
yeah. If nothing else, watch it for the score, because the music's great.
If you're a film nerd like Shane, yeah, watch it for the score.
Anyway, I digress. What is it, my pick next week?
Yep.
Yep, you picked E.T. You're gonna love this.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're gonna love it. I love it. Next week, we're gonna watch RoboCop, the original, 1987.
Oh, I'm pumped then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
good.
a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always down for some RoboCop.
I was so scared. I thought you were going to put some other bullshit movie on me, like Star Trek 5.
Star Trek 5. No, I think I got that one out of my system. Looking back on it, I actually think that RoboCop is one of those movies from the 80s that it is remembered fondly, but I think that it's kind of underrated. Probably just because of the name RoboCop. There's so much cheesy robot stuff in the 80s that this one's in a whole nother class, and I think that it kind of got shat on a little bit because of the cheesy name. But I think it's a good one. I'm excited.
Well, and it might be a little cheesy.
I have no problem. They're intentionally being cheesy with that movie, and I'm fine with that.
We will leave that up to discussion on the next episode. Don't hesitate to follow us on Cheesy Movie.
It's Casino Royale with cheese. It's Casino Royale WCheese on Facebook, all one word.
Yeah.
Our Yahoo email is cheesymovie@yahoo.com.
Yeah, there you go. I messed it up.
That's okay. Twitter, it's Casino Royale WCH.
Yeah.
We have an Instagram, if you care. I don't.
Casino Royale WCheese.
Yep.
All one word.
But yeah, feel free to like us on social media. Our YouTube handles Casino Royale WCheese. And
for those of you who listen to us, hit us up at cheesymovie@yahoo.com for feedback. Like, let us know like what you think about this. Give us suggestions for movies in the upcoming episodes. Like, you know,
I like to hear your feedback.
We're new and we're still trying to improve and get better, and we're totally open to suggestions. If you're a douchebag, we'll just delete you.
Yeah.
So, you know, hit us up.
Disregard. Yeah. But yeah, that's how you get better, is feedback. So, but anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Later.
I'll be back.